Hey guys, Wyatt here, and I just wanted to make a quick video on what is going on in British Columbia provincial politics because it's been absolutely wild, and not one aspect of all of the crazy change going on has gone the way of BC NDP Premier David Eby. His party, at least in my opinion, from my perspective, is on the ropes. Because I had been advocating for the last several months that a merger between BC United and the BC Conservatives would not be good for anybody. It would end up just having more of the people who drove the BC United Party into the ground joining the Conservatives and then probably watering down the campaign and, doing a lot of damage. And with Kevin Falcon just basically saying, we're not going to run anymore, go vote BC Conservative, that's perfect. That's perfect. None of the incompetent people from BC United are encouraged to come and join and help out on the campaign for the Conservatives. We can just keep doing our thing over in the BC Conservative camp. That's great. And we can actually push on to victory. We don't have to make any stupid compromises over policy. We can just keep focusing on the policies people have been liking that have been pushing us up in the polls. So that's great. It was also just kind of funny to see Kevin Falcon almost just through online teasing, just basically say, yep, I'm out of here. I'm gonna pack it in, guys. Didn't ask for like a cabinet position, not gonna run again. He just kind of got on the phone with his caucus saying, yeah, we're gonna pack it in. And even they're like, well, you should resign first. And he says, no, and then just kind of hangs up the phone, walks out into a press conference and stands behind John Rusted, the man he kicked out of the party, the BC United Party, a year ago, or a year and a half ago, and is now conceding that John Rusted is the only person who can save the province. And again, this has all been horrible for the BC NDP and David Eby, because they wanted to make this whole hoopla, this whole kit and caboodle over the fact that, oh, the United and the Conservatives are coming together to merge, and all the lobbyists and consultants are coming after us because we're pure socialists fighting capitalist dogs or something like that. Whatever David Eby would say, he's a complete nutcase. That didn't happen. Just United said we can't win, so we're leaving, and because of the Falcon endorsement, I think that we're actually going to get way more of the United voter base coming over to the Conservatives than we would have if the party just stopped existing without the endorsement. Because the problem with the United base, and this is always something you have to be careful with, just because they're not the NDP, if they go away, that doesn't exactly benefit the Conservatives. I would say that if anything, there was more federal liberals who were voting BC United than there were still federal Conservatives. So if the party just went away, good chance a lot of those people would then go vote BC NDP. But the Falcon endorsement, I think, loosens it up a bit to where I think we're going to now capture more than 50% of the BC United's voter base who doesn't just stay home. A lot of them probably will stay home, and I'm perfectly fine with that, because I think right now the Conservatives have a very good chance when it comes to just winning on turnout, because some new polls are out, and of course I'm always talking about polls. The polls are, can I just say, amazing. I've already talked about the two previous polls from Main Street, and then I think the other one from, it doesn't really matter, but one of them showed the BC Conservatives up 3, and one of them showed the BC Conservatives up by 1. Both of those polls have been consistently showing a upward trend. This has been very good for the Conservatives, but what's even better is just today, Angus Reid released a poll. Now, I'm going to take you back on a little bit of a time machine journey 3 months ago. Angus Reid released a poll 3 months ago in May. This isn't January, this isn't February, this isn't like months and months and months ago. This is just a few months ago. May. Angus Reid put out a poll where the BC NDP and David Eby had an 11-point lead, over the BC Conservatives. So it was like 42 to like 31. It was horrific for the BC Conservatives if the election was about to happen. I knew that those numbers weren't going to stay, so I wasn't, too panicked about it. Yeah, a lot of the pollsters take a little bit more time to catch up to the trends. Different polling methodologies and sampling styles tend to capture different voters. But the new poll that they just released, to now fast forward to today, is BC Conservatives are up 1 point on the BC NDP. So since Angus Reid's last poll, there has been a 12-point swing towards the BC Conservatives. That's insane. And I know there's all those polling, like those seat projection models some people are putting out, usually more on the left, saying, well, even if the BC NDP are down 1 or 2 points, they can still win on seats by like 3, 4, or 5 seats. It's like, no, because what you guys are doing is the same mistake that American pollsters make every single election. There are some good American pollsters. A lot of them are push polls because there's so much money in American politics. Parties do indeed pay for push polls, a poll showing you so far ahead to try and demoralize the other side, or show you right neck and neck even though you're really far down to try and get your voters out. But a lot of the mistakes these people are making by doing models is they're assuming the people who showed up last time are going to be showing up this time. So the same demographic group, same demographies, every single different person, like every single person who showed up and voted last time, that's the exact same group of people who's going to show up and vote this time. It's simple. Different elections have different results, and it's partially based on who chooses to show up and vote. It's not the same 60% of people showing up to vote every single election. A John Horgan NDP voter is very different from a David Eby NDP voter, and this is where I want to get into the other terrible thing going on for the BC NDP. The crack pipe vending machine. That's lightning in a bottle for the BC Conservatives, rightfully so. That's insane. Where we just have illicit drug smoking and like snorting tools being given out in vending machines in front of ERs. That's insane. We have the Mission Memorial ER closing, I think for like the 6th or 7th time in just a few weeks. It's insane. And their MLA in that area, their NDP MLA for Abbotsford Mission, Pam Alexis, can't even acknowledge it happened. I think one time it closed, she says, "Thanks for the call, Fraser Health," quote, tweeting them saying that we've just notified all authorities about the closure. That's all she said. They have nothing. The record's bad. And David Eby, because he has terrible political instincts, I think the only person with worse political instincts in BC politics than David Eby, who's currently in office, is Ravi Parmar, who is the replacement NDP MLA in Juan de Fuca to replace John Horgan. Ravi Parmar has the political timing of a bowling ball going through a plate glass window. He's terrible. But David Eby is like right up there with him. So David Eby, in the midst of all this radical garbage, their terrible record and performance on many issues, it's not just that they have a more radical perspective, it's that the results suck. The results plainly suck. And David Eby is now coming out and saying, well, you can't vote for the Conservatives because they're radical. They might do some crazy stuff. What? This is like if we're in the Soviet Union and Stalin is the current premier of the USSR, and then someone like proposes maybe getting rid of him, and then you say, like, well, someone else more radical might get in than Stalin. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe there's a Pol Pot in Russia sitting somewhere around the corners, but we're as bad as it could possibly get. David Eby is as bad as you could possibly get. So trying to scare BC residents into thinking that John Rusted might cut, healthcare spending. He might push your grandmother down the stairs. No one believes it. No one believes he's actually going to do something like that. No government since the federal Liberals under Chrétien have cut healthcare spending. It's because and that only was happening because we were in a massive debt crisis. If we don't want to run into that where we have to cut healthcare spending, we need a conservative government who can manage the budget better. And that doesn't require any cutting to healthcare spending. It just means we have to cut garbage, just nonsense, DEI crap. We just need that stuff out. We need the carbon tax regime and all the administration that goes along with it out. We need the massive amounts of just nonsensical digging holes just to fill them in type public jobs gotten rid of. There's a lot of garbage that we can get rid of easily to actually balance this budget and start paying down the provincial debt. Cut taxes. If we reduce personal income taxes, business income taxes across the board, we will actually bring in more revenue because BC is so overtaxed, we're chasing people out of the province. But I want to talk a little bit more about just David Eby as a person now, because it's almost like the BC Conservatives, like if John Rusted, I could believe John Rusted's a wizard. He forced Falcon to kick him out of the BC United Caucus so then he could become the Conservative leader and have a lot of momentum and inject some new energy into BC politics. And he must have also been the one behind getting David Eby in as the new NDP leader after John Horgan. He got the NDP to foolishly appoint him as the new NDP leader and premier of the province. He's literally an acclaimed premier. It's so sad. He is the worst. Nobody likes him, and this is the problem for the NDP. They can try and fearmonger about, oh, this BC Conservative candidate said this thing 5 years ago. Guys, who cares? Guys, who cares? Our current premier is a crazy person. He's actually insane. He does not know what he's doing. His only His only prescription in any time of crisis, and whenever there's a problem, he just wants to do the same policies more with more money. That he's a nutcase. The guy also just has no charisma. David Eby walks around, I have bad posture, and he makes me look like I can walk perfectly straight and carry a book on my head, because that guy walks around like he's Gumby mixed with a vulture. The guy doesn't have any charisma. His only claim to fame is beating Christy Clark in the 2013 provincial election, which is not difficult. Christy Clark is just the provincial version of Kim Campbell. It's not difficult. So the NDP acclaimed him because of his claim to fame that he took out the former Liberal premier of British Columbia in an election. David Eby barely got any more votes than any other NDP candidates ever gotten in Point Grey. All of Gordon Campbell's opponents usually were around the 10,000 vote mark. I think David Eby got 11,000 votes. He did not actually increase the appeal of the NDP in that riding, but he just won by default because Christy Clark is the worst. And now they think that because David Eby beat the worst possible person, that means that he's like going to be a unifier and he can reach out to the moderate middle class. He's not a moderate. He was just in the right place at the right time, running against the worst premier possible. Like, Ujjal Dosanjh was the last NDP premier to lose an election. But you could say that Ujjal Dosanjh has real virtues. A lot of flaws, but some virtues too. David Eby doesn't have any virtues to run as a person. He's a career useless person. He is a freeloader. He is somebody who's just worked for government-funded and activist-funded organizations, making problems worse. He's never solved a problem for anybody. He's never done anything for anybody. Maybe he's helped an old lady walk across the street one time. Maybe. I don't even know about that. But overall, his entire career at the Pivot Legal Society and working in government has only been to make problems worse, demonize people actually doing a good job, and virtue signaling. He's an idiot. He's horrible. He is anti-police. He is trying to chase every single person who has any money left out of British Columbia. He thinks that the way that we end up creating more affordable housing is just demanding that people provide the housing for cheaper. It's just 18-year-old sociology type solutions to problems. This is stupid. This is a stupid premier, and this is why British Columbians need to vote for the Conservatives. I assume every single one of you watching this video right now is going to, but reach out to friends, neighbors. The BC NDP has a massive money advantage because the one thing that David Eby is very good at is government corruption. And so he has made it that all of the incumbent parties, they all get $1.56 per vote that they got in the last election. And they get that taxpayer handout every year on the year. So for 4 years, the BC NDP has been able to get $1.56 per vote that they got in the 2020 election. The Conservatives technically get it too, but they only had like less than 50,000 votes. They had nothing, so they don't get very much money at all. And the BC NDP, and I believe it's that if you get more than 10% in a riding, you get 33% of your money back. It's just to advantage incumbents and make their governments and parties more rigid in the polls. The BC NDP, nobody likes them, but they have a lot of money. So guys, if you live in BC, I'm going to link the Abbotsford South EDA in the description below. That's where I'm the campaign manager for Bruce Banman. Just donate at least $100 to it. You get 75% of your money back up to $100, 50% of it up to $550, and 33% up to $1450, I believe. If you got to donate because the BC Conservatives are at a money disadvantage. Money doesn't basically guide political outcomes. It helps a little bit, but it doesn't guide them. This is truly a test between grassroots campaigning and a bloated, overfunded, socialist trade unionist party. But the money does help, so make sure you donate. Go see the link in the description below. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure Abbotsford South is fully funded. It's not gonna be that difficult. Our United candidate that we were up against already dropped out. And so what we're going to do is just take a small bit of the money and then we're going to package the rest up and send it out to other ridings that need it, where there is a chance to be able to get rid of an NDP incumbent or put in a BC Conservative candidate to replace a United MLA who's retiring. So yeah, everything's going very well. Just make sure to do your part so we can actually, get David Eby out of office. He's the worst. He's the worst. And if we all don't try really hard right now, when we can't be that upset if we're going to have to try and move in the next year or two because the BC NDP got back in. Anyways, See you guys all later. You can also check out my website in the description below, wyattclaypool.com. Sign up on to the organizing list I have nationally, and I'll see you guys later.